This is Valerie Van Boeven with the Senior Care Industry Netcast, where leaders with 3 or more years in the senior care industry share their advice. It's 6 questions in 9 minutes, so let's get to it. In a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
I am Judith Beaulieu, a registered nurse with over 40 years of nursing experience. I was in the hospital setting and in the pharmaceutical industry. And I went from pharma to dharma when I was 62 years old. And I let go of the traditional way of nursing and became a self-employed health and wellness coach, and ended up specializing using yoga as a therapeutic means to help aging people. So as an entrepreneur nurse, I integrated all of that. And most of the people that I took care of were 50 and older. And it came about when I owned and operated a yoga studio for a few years. And most of my clients were experiencing chronic pain, or they were pending surgeries or getting surgeries, or have had surgeries, and whatever other conditions that came up and entered my yoga studio. So the doctors found out about my services. Insurance, of course, did not pay it. So I operated with integrating the health coaching as I would teach the yoga classes, and I kept them small. But after a while, I had to close the studio because I was being called to retirement community centers, wellness centers, and to teach nursing students, actually, in universities, and to head programs within my Chester County area for businesses, so that people know that my services will be available at their facilities. But after a while, it got a little too much. I had other nurses that were in this new paradigm, if you will, of teaching yoga, and people who had medical backgrounds are what was being sought after. So when COVID hit and I had all this up and running, it really landed with a vengeance on my business. And the contracts, of course, ended abruptly. And this was just recently, as you know, in March. So what I did is I started to hear about teaching virtual yoga classes on the internet through Zoom. Most of the people are doing it through Zoom, but there's other arenas. And after a while, I noticed that I was just taking a sample population and doing it as a volunteer at my local retirement community of people that I knew. So there wasn't anybody that I needed to adjust or coach through poses therapeutically. And so it worked. They needed time to learn how to work the computer, and we worked it together because I too had some issues, and it worked. So now I am redoing my website. It's going to be BeaulieUyoga.com. We're working on it at the present time. And it's going to be geared toward the 50-plus community to be able to take a therapeutic approach for yoga, for stability, mobility, balance, etc.
Very nice. What a long story. And I'm so glad that you have been able to innovate as we hit a tough time and everybody's kind of had to figure out how to do services without being there in person. It's been challenging for so many. And it sounds to me like you're doing a great job of retooling a little bit until further notice anyway, and getting, and I know that online, fitness has had a big boom. So I agree that probably doing these online and coaching folks online through video is going to be the way it is for a little while until we kind of get past all of this and we're able to see each other in person again. So that's great. I'm so glad you were able to innovate and make this work.
Thank you.
So tell me, what is the best thing about serving aging adults?
Being an aging adult. I am approaching my 70th year in September, And I can identify these challenges just like everybody over 50. I mean, sometimes people are starting in with surgeries in their 50s for, orthopedic issues. Mostly chronic back pain is the number one, and I myself went through it. So when you identify peer to peer, and I find that they feel more comfortable setting goals and staying with them, because I share my personal story with them. And you could do it in a group. You don't have to do it one-on-one. So if I have a group of people who have different issues, I will ask them if you would like to share with our little group, because, it's just our group and everybody knows each other in our room. So for all, the HIPAA thing and everything, and being a nurse, I want to be able to protect our sacred space, if you will. And they love that because, again, I am an aging adult and I do share my story with them. So this has been huge. This fulfills my purpose in life. This is what is the best thing about serving.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I think that if being able to give back to a population that you can identify with, that might be your age, or might be a little older, might be a little younger, anybody you can give back to and offer health and wellness options to, is a huge reward, I think, for everybody involved, yourself and all the people that you're able to touch. So that's totally great. All right, let's talk about online marketing, because you mentioned you're having your website redone and you've been pushed into this world of video, and doing all your classes on video. I know marketing online can be challenging and confusing, and it's ever changing. So what has been your experience so far?
Touche. It is. Marketing is very challenging online. My experience has been when I was the first holistic nurse health coach entrepreneur in the United States. And I had to let people know that they could be coached through the internet. And I did a lot with veterans. And for some reason, they just hooked up to this. I guess they had the availability to figure it out. And I went through a program called iMeet, because we didn't have Zoom. We didn't really have FaceTime at that time. And this was back in 2011. So it wasn't in too distant past. And I find out that it can be confusing, especially for my peers who are, around, I would say, who are not working anymore, and they're not familiar with the computer. They don't even know what to search for or how to utilize a search engine to find me. So that's what I find is the most difficult. And we're overcoming that, though, because they're now savvy. The computers are in assisted living or in community centers and so forth. So I think we're overcoming that.
Yeah, I think it's surprising, and it makes me feel good to know that a lot of our seniors are pretty good at this stuff, and they've had to learn self-taught most of the time, how to do things. But my mom is 70. I guess she's 71 this year, and she is 100% self-taught, and some things she really likes and some things she really doesn't like. She does not like Facebook, but which is fine. But we have, we've modified, and we have a little private, thing that we do to share pictures and, everyday happenings in our lives. So there's no politics and no weird stuff. So, and I think seniors, know what they want, and they know for some of them, it takes a little longer to catch on, but I'm surprised that so many are malleable and learning and willing to learn. And that's great to see. Great to see. All right. Let's see. I would imagine in your lifetime, there have been other successful leaders or other organizations that have been inspirational to you, maybe mentor, maybe just some organization or person you think just does a really good job. Is there anybody you would like to give a shout out to?
In my recent past, getting involved with the seniors as a senior, there's a little community for assisted living, and they also have long-term called Tell High Retirement Community, and it's an exceptional place 6 miles from my home. In fact, when my mother was alive, I had her stay there, and the caregivers were so respectful to her needs, and they had activities, and they developed an area where they called it a multi-purpose room, where anybody at any level can go and be instructed to take some sort of a fitness class. And the person that does all of that, that supervises it now, she was my director and manager and still is Gwen Johnson. And she is phenomenal. She has a fitness background, and she takes care of everybody. And when I lost my contract, she kept me on as a volunteer so I can keep my foot in the door and do these Zoom classes. And she does a fantastic job of helping, not just in the fitness capacity, but actually walking the talk. And she herself is a super adult.
That is so good. It is nice to have a close networking group of professionals that are just as dedicated and inspired as you are to helping others. It makes life fun to be around like-minded folks. Okay, what piece of advice would you give to other senior care providers out there?
Well, it's such a great time to be of service, especially as nurses, and as we try to figure out what do we want to do next. And so when you want to develop a niche with your experience, your background, and what your heart is calling you to do, you really need to not get overwhelmed. Because a lot of times I've identified myself trying to do too many things in too many areas, and I needed to whittle it down over the years. So, identifying one thing in the plethora of things you can help with in helping the aging population. And then you can provide the best, thorough, comprehensive, whatever it is, product or service. And then maybe, too, you'll identify this hasn't been created yet. And I found that out being a health coach first, getting board certified and finding out, oh my gosh, I didn't expect what came back at me. And I was starting to get overwhelmed because people wanted to know about complementary therapies and, ways that they could stay healthy. And I went, whoa, I'm not getting into the nutrition aspect. I'm not going to give them advice. It's not in my scope of practice. So be careful that you don't overwhelm yourself because you start getting too excited and you could not possibly get all those certifications. I'm working on a third one, which is being a medical exercise specialist through ACE, the American Academy of Exercise, or College of Exercise. And this is going to be it, because I'll have 3 certifications that I have to keep my nursing license active for that scope of practice. So keep that in mind as well.
Yes. You know what? I haven't probably done patient care in 20 years, but I keep that license active because you never know. You never know when it might come in handy, or you get another certification. I think a lot of nurses are lifelong learners, and it keeps us sharp and it keeps us up to date with what's going on. So I agree. Keep that license current, even if you're not using it right now.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is pay the dues, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right, absolutely. So thank you. And my last question, and this could mean anything. It could be any kind of celebration. When you have a win in life or in business, and a win actually could be anything. It could be the birth of a new baby in the family, or a wedding, or a graduation, or, a contract opens up, or, something, someone just says, you make me feel so much better. When you have a win in life, how do you like to celebrate?
Well, because I am a dedicated yogi, I go back to those realms of life where you are connected to something greater than yourself. And I look at things as as I'm a conduit. I didn't make that happen from me. I helped to, whatever the purpose was, to facilitate whatever needed to be accomplished. And it is a good feeling, and it does fulfill me, but it wants me to share that. That's my way of celebrating. So I'll blog about it on my blog, Healthcare Demystified, and with permission of whoever it was that was involved in the achievement or what have you. I don't have children, I don't have grandchildren, so I have this energy to give back and be my higher self for the highest good. So that's my mantra all the time. And I humble myself and I thank God, whom I believe in, that I was there to help.
And that is a great way to celebrate those, anytime, being able to be fulfilled and share that with others and be that conduit of health and wellness and message of the options for health and wellness. I think that's a great way to celebrate. That's fantastic. So you're
Thank
doing a
you.
great job. And we appreciate all of our, the folks that come on our show all have lots of experience and have been around the block a few times. So, so they're full of good wisdom, just like you are, Judith. So I want to thank you for being on the show and sharing what you do with us. We will make sure your website and everything's available with this video so everybody can read more about you and learn more about what you do. And thank you for doing this. It was great to get to know you and have you share your wisdom with us.
Well, thank you. And I want to wish you all the luck in the world and all my heartfelt prayers for having a successful venture with what you're doing.
Oh,
And I bid you namaste, which means the light in me honors the light in you.
oh, that's so sweet. Thank you so much. I
You're
appreciate it. Thank
welcome.
you.